Los Angeles Port. Thursday morning. The sun is just rising over the Pacific Ocean. The port is already alive with activity. Massive cranes, cargo ships, containers stacked 10 stories high. This is the busiest port in America. Every single day, thousands of containers arrive from every corner of the world. Thousands of stories, thousands of secrets. Today, one of those containers is about to reveal a secret that will change everything. Captain Marcus Williams has been working at the Port Authority for 23 years. He's a port manager. He oversees operations. He manages logistics. He's seen it all. Containers with electronics, containers with textiles, containers with food, containers with industrial equipment. He's processed millions of containers in his career. But he's never seen anything like what's about to happen this morning. A cargo ship called the Pacific Dawn arrived at the port late Wednesday evening. It came from Shanghai. It's a massive ship, over 1,000 containers on board. The ship pulled into the dock around midnight. The unloading began immediately. Container after container, offloaded from the ship, stacked on the dock, sorted, categorized, prepared for customs inspection. Most of the containers will pass through without incident. They'll be inspected, their contents will be verified against their manifests, their documentation will be checked, and then they'll be released to their final destinations. But some containers will require more attention. Some containers will trigger alarms. Some containers will raise red flags. This morning, container 208047 is about to be one of those containers. Officer Jennifer Harris is working customs inspection this morning. She's been with Customs and Border Protection for 12 years. She's stationed at the LA port. She's one of the most experienced inspectors here. She can read a container. She can sense when something is wrong. She has instincts that are rarely wrong. As she walks past container 247, something stops her. It's a subtle thing, a smell, not a strong smell, not obvious. Just something that doesn't match, something that doesn't belong. She stops. She closes her eyes for a moment. She takes another breath, and there it is again. That smell, that wrong smell. Jennifer radios for backup. She calls Captain Marcus Williams. She tells him she needs to inspect container 20. Within minutes, Marcus arrives. He's carrying his inspection kit. He's ready to open the container and see what's inside. But as he gets closer, he smells it too. That same wrong smell. Marcus, what do we have here? Jennifer, I don't know yet, but something's not right. Marcus pulls out the manifest for container 28047. According to the paperwork, the container is supposed to contain textile machinery, industrial equipment, nothing that would produce any kind of smell. Marcus, the manifest says textile machinery, industrial parts. Jennifer, then why does it smell like human waste? Marcus's expression changes. He knows what that smell means. He smelled it before, years ago, and he remembers exactly what it meant. He signals to the dock workers to bring over the hydraulic door opener. They position it on the container. The massive metal doors are sealed shut. They're locked. They're meant to keep things in, or keep things out. The hydraulic opener engages. There's a sound of pressure building, of metal straining, of something being forced open. The doors begin to crack open, just slightly, just enough to see darkness inside, just enough to let that smell out into the morning air. And then the doors swing fully open. What Marcus sees makes him freeze. Inside the container, packed so tightly that they can barely move, are people, dozens of them. Men, women, children. Some are standing, some are sitting, some are lying on the floor. All of them are staring out at Marcus with expressions of pure confusion, pure desperation, pure relief that someone has finally opened the door. Marcus, oh my God. His voice is barely a whisper. The first person to speak is a man. He's in his 40s. His clothes are torn. His face is covered in sweat and dirt. He's been crying. His voice is hoarse. Man, please, please help us. We've been in here for so long. Marcus, how many of you are there? Man, I don't know. Maybe 20? 25? I lost count. Marcus pulls out his radio. His hands are shaking. Marcus, this is Port Authority. We have a human trafficking situation at container 28047. We need emergency medical services. We need backup. We need everyone. Within seconds, the radio explodes with activity. Police, fire department, emergency medical services, CBP agents. Everyone is mobilized. This is a major incident. As the people are carefully removed from the container, the reality of what's happened becomes clear. 23 people total. 23 human beings packed into a metal container that's approximately 40 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 8 feet tall. That's 2,560 cubic feet of space for 23 people. And they've been in there for how long? No one knows. The manifest says the container was loaded in Shanghai 48 hours ago. 48 hours in a sealed metal box. No air circulation, no water, no food, no toilet facilities. The paramedics are working frantically. They're checking vitals. They're looking for injuries. They're looking for signs of heat exhaustion, dehydration, oxygen deprivation. As they remove the last few people from the container, one of the paramedics calls out, "Paramedic, we need a body bag. We have a child here, not breathing." Marcus feels his knees go weak. A child who didn't survive the journey. The body is carefully removed from the container. It's a girl. She looks to be about 7 or 8 years old. She's not moving. She's not breathing. CPR is initiated immediately. The paramedics work on her for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But it's too late. She's gone. The cause of death will be listed as asphyxiation, lack of oxygen. She suffocated in that container, in that metal box with 22 other people fighting for the same air. Marcus steps back. He leans against a nearby wall. He feels sick. He's been doing this job for 23 years. He's seen difficult things, but he's never seen anything like this. He's never seen a child die because someone was willing to pack human beings into a container like cargo. The investigation begins immediately. CBP agents are interviewing the survivors. They're trying to understand who organized this, who paid for this, who was transporting these people, where were they going, what were they going to do when they arrived. The survivors are traumatized. Many of them don't speak English. Many of them are from Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. They were promised jobs. They were promised safety. They were promised a new life in America. Instead, they were packed into a container and shipped across the Pacific Ocean like cattle. One woman speaks through a translator. She explains that they paid over $40,000 each to a smuggling organization. $40,000. Everything they had. Everything their families could borrow, to get to America, to start a new life. Instead, they got trapped in a metal box, and now one of them is dead. The girl's name was Lynn. She was 8 years old. She was traveling with her mother. Her mother held her as they suffocated. Her mother felt her daughter's breath slow down. Her mother felt her daughter stop breathing. And there was nothing she could do about it. She was trapped in a container with 22 other people. There was nowhere to go. No way to get help. No way to save her daughter. The investigation takes weeks. Federal agents track down the smuggling organization. They identify the people responsible for organizing the trafficking operation. They work with international law enforcement. They coordinate with authorities in Vietnam and Thailand. Eventually, arrests are made. Multiple people are charged with human trafficking, with violations of federal law, with negligent homicide in the death of Lynn. The story makes national headlines. 23 people smuggled in container. Child dies. Traffickers face federal charges. LA port discovers largest human trafficking case in years. The media swarms. News crews. Reporters. They're asking questions. They want to understand how this happened. How did the container get on the ship? How did it get past inspections? How did it make it all the way from Shanghai to Los Angeles? The answer is simple. Bad luck. Good luck. Timing. If Jennifer Harris hadn't stopped at that exact moment, if she hadn't smelled that smell, if Marcus hadn't opened the container when he did, the ship would have continued on. The container would have been picked up by whoever was waiting for it. The people would have been moved to a warehouse. They would have been forced into labor, into trafficking situations, into modern slavery, or they would have all died. The surviving 22 people are taken to the hospital. They're treated for severe dehydration, for heat exhaustion, for oxygen deprivation, for trauma. The mental trauma of spending 48 hours in a sealed metal box will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Some of them decide to testify against the traffickers. Some of them are too traumatized to speak about what happened. Some of them are terrified that the smuggling organization will retaliate against their families back home. The trial takes a year to prepare. The evidence is overwhelming. The prosecution presents testimony from the survivors. They present evidence of the smuggling operation. They present the body of Lin as evidence of what happens when human beings are treated like cargo. The traffickers are convicted. They receive sentences ranging from 15 to 30 years in federal prison. But no sentence can bring Lin back. No conviction can undo the trauma experienced by the 22 survivors. No law enforcement action can erase the fact that a child died, because people were willing to profit from human desperation. Captain Marcus Williams becomes the face of the investigation. He's interviewed by every major news outlet. He talks about what it was like to open that container, what it was like to see those people, what it was like to see that child. He becomes an advocate for stronger port security, for better inspection procedures, for more resources to combat human trafficking. He speaks at conferences. He speaks at universities. He tells his story. He tells people that this is happening every single day, that containers are arriving at American ports with human beings packed inside, that people are dying, that this is a crisis that most Americans have no idea is happening. Marcus writes a book about his experience. The book becomes a bestseller. It's adapted into a documentary. The documentary wins awards. It's shown on streaming platforms. Millions of people watch it. Years later, Marcus is still haunted by what he saw that morning. He still dreams about opening that container. He still hears the voices of the survivors. He still thinks about Lynn, the little girl who didn't survive. He leaves the Port Authority. He becomes a full-time activist. He works with organizations that combat human trafficking. He helps survivors. He pushes for policy changes. He dedicates his life to making sure that what happened to Lynn never happens to anyone else. Officer Jennifer Harris, the woman who smelled that smell, receives a commendation. She receives an award for her role in breaking up the trafficking operation. But like Marcus, she's also haunted by what she discovered that morning. She stays with Customs and Border Protection. She becomes a trainer. She teaches other inspectors about the signs of human trafficking. She teaches them to trust their instincts. She teaches them that sometimes the smallest detail, a smell, a sound, a feeling can be the difference between life and death. Container 208047 becomes part of a memorial to those who have died trying to escape desperate situations, a memorial to those who have been exploited by traffickers, a reminder of what can happen when people are treated as commodities. Years later, when Marcus walks through the LA port, he still sometimes stops at that spot, the spot where Container 208047 was opened, the spot where Lynn took her last breath, the spot where everything changed. He thinks about that morning. He thinks about the decision he made to open that container. He thinks about how close they came to missing it, how close they came to Lynn dying in anonymity, how close they came to this entire operation going undetected. And he makes himself a promise every single time he stands there. A promise to never let another child die in a metal container. A promise to fight human trafficking with every ounce of energy he has. A promise to honor Lynn's memory by making sure her death means something. The LA port is one of the busiest ports in the world. Hundreds of containers arrive every single day. Thousands of stories. But one story stands out. One container stands out. One little girl stands out. In Marcus's memory, Lynn, 8 years old, dead in a metal box, because someone was willing to sacrifice human beings for profit. That's the story of Container 208047. That's the story of the Gesamtliche Schäler that came out of that container. That's the story of what happens when people are treated like cargo instead of human beings.